Welcome to Power Podcast, brought to you by Sway Craftistry. Today, we are undertaking let's call it a radical deep dive. We're looking into the very definition of courage. And we're drawing on some sources that, frankly, challenge how most of us think about our daily lives. We're not really talking about battlefield bravery here.
No, not in the usual sense. This is more about the courage it takes just to be, fully alive, consciously alive.
And it starts with a paradox, doesn't it? A real contradiction in how we operate.
It really does.
Yeah.
Think about it. We're almost obsessed, institutionally, culturally, personally, with finding security, certainty, comfort.
We build walls, right? Both real walls and mental ones to shield ourselves from what we don't know.
Exactly. But these sources we're looking at, they argue that this very search for security, it's actually the fast track to, stagnation. Stagnation. Stupidity. That's a strong word.
It is strong. A kind of living death, the sources suggest. Because the argument is that true life, is fundamentally uncertain. It's insecure. It's even dangerous. Okay, that's a big claim, especially for, our listeners, people dealing with the real world planning structure.
Right. But here's the twist. This danger, this uncertainty, it's not a bug, it's a feature. That's where the real beauty, the real freedom of life is supposed to reside, according to this view.
So our mission today is to unpack that, this idea that life is insecure, and maybe that's okay. Maybe it's even good.
Precisely. And to do that, we almost have to start by redefining our terms. We need a new vocabulary.
How so?
We're conditioned, aren't we? Uncertainty feels like a threat. Insecurity feels like weakness.
Yeah, that's standard.
But if we want to grasp this perspective, we need to try calling uncertainty wonder and insecurity. Well, that's freedom.
Uncertainty is wonder, insecurity is freedom.
Just try that mental flip. If you can make that small shift in language, the claim is your whole experience of reality starts to change. Instantly.
Okay, but I have to push back a bit. For someone with bills to pay, a mortgage, a career path, calling uncertainty wonder sounds a bit like a semantic trick, a luxury.
That's the natural reaction, absolutely.
How do we ground this? If I embrace total insecurity, how do I function day to day? How do I know I'll eat next week?
And that is the core conflict, isn't it? The mind, our logical mind, it needs structure. It seeks patterns, predictability, but life itself.
Well, it seems to operate more like chaos. Beautiful chaos, perhaps, but chaos nonetheless.
So the security we think we want.
The sources argue it's always the security of the past. It's based on what we already know, what's already happened. The moment you say, okay, I'm certain about this belief, this plan, this outcome,
You've locked it down.
you've essentially stopped growing, in a way. You've declared the book closed on that chapter.
Okay, let's dig into that. The problem with certainty itself. Why is it seen as so problematic here? We're often drawn to dogmas, creeds, promises about the future.
Because they offer comfort, right? They
Wow.
let you live without the constant effort of being aware, of figuring things out moment by moment.
A beautiful imprisonment, one source calls it. Exactly.
Okay.
Beautiful because it feels safe. You're sheltered. You have ready-made answers. Your path feels right. But certainty is static.
Yeah.
Life isn't. So from this perspective, declaring absolute certainty is it's like declaring yourself intellectually dead, a kind of suicide of awareness.
Because life isn't mechanical. A always leading to B.
No, it's presented as this dynamic, unpredictable mystery.
Yeah.
If everything was predetermined, totally predictable.
Where's the choice? Where's the freedom?
Precisely. There'd be no real growth, no meaning, maybe even no point. It would all just be playing out a script.
So the sources say something quite provocative.
Yeah.
Only idiots feel secure.
Yeah. And again, it sounds like an insult, but the context suggests it's about awareness.
Meaning,
if you're truly aware, truly alive to the nature of existence, how can you feel totally secure when everything is fundamentally an open question?
no matter how smart you are, no expert, no system knows exactly what's next.
Right. That very openness, that's what guarantees our freedom. But it also means insecurity is baked in. You can't have one without the other.
So insecurity isn't a flaw in this model. It's the sign of being alive.
It's the signature of aliveness, yeah. Think about it. If life were perfectly secure, utterly predictable,
It would be incredibly boring.
unbearably so, maybe worse than death, as one source puts it. The uncertainty keeps us engaged, searching, wondering. It's the thrill, the edge.
But our minds don't like that edge.
No, the mind is a creature of habit, of memory. It sees unpredictability and immediately labels it insecurity, danger, threat.
Which brings us to that analogy of the prisoner, the one getting released from jail.
Ah, yes. It's powerful. Inside the jail, the prisoner had total certainty. Maybe miserable certainty, but certainty nonetheless.
Food showed up, there was protection from the outside, the routine was rigid, known.
Absolutely fixed. But then the jailer opens the door and says, "You're free."
And the prisoner trembles, not with joy, but with fear.
Right. Because freedom means being thrust back into the unknown. It requires effort, energy. You have to decide, seek, find your way. There are no guarantees.
And the mind, which relies on past data, just screams insecurity.
It can't calculate next week's meal anymore. It can't predict next year's shelter with the same certainty. So the cage starts to look weirdly appealing again. The known misery versus the unknown freedom.
So if being truly alive means feeling insecure, how do we tell the difference between someone who's courageous and someone who's, well, a coward when facing this? Because it sounds like courage isn't about not feeling fear.
That's absolute key. Courage, initially at least, is not fearlessness. That comes much, much later. Fearlessness is described as the ultimate outcome, the fragrance that arises after you've repeatedly chosen courage.
So what's the difference in the beginning?
It's subtle. Both the coward and the courageous person feel the same fear when facing the unknown, the exact same trembling.
Okay.
The coward listens to that fear, believes it, turns around, and goes back to the familiar shore, back to safety.
And the courageous one?
Recognizes the fear, acknowledges it's there, but then, as the source says, puts those fears aside and goes ahead, steps into the uncharted waters anyway.
So it's about readiness.
Yeah.
Willingness to act despite the uncertainty.
Exactly. Readiness. Courage is defined as the very readiness to remain in uncertainty. And that readiness, that willingness to be uncertain, that is trust.
Trust in what, though? Not in a guaranteed outcome.
Trust in life itself, perhaps? Or trust in your own ability to respond, to adapt? It's the choice, the active choice, moment by moment, to risk the known for the unknown, the familiar for the unfamiliar.
And gambling.
It's absolutely gambling, continuous gambling. And the claim is only the gamblers, the ones willing to risk security for growth, truly know what life is, because they're constantly choosing aliveness over safety.
And over time, taking that gamble again and again, the fear lessens.
It transforms. The initial terror dissipates because you start to experience the ecstasy of the unknown, the sheer aliveness of it.
Yeah.
And that builds real strength, real intelligence, not just book smarts, but situational awareness.
Okay, so this willingness to risk, to gamble, it leads us to how we actually engage with this uncertain world. And there seems to be a clash, a conflict between trying to control life with logic and life itself.
Yes. The sources are quite direct. Life doesn't listen to your logic. You have to listen to life.
Which means?
It means you can't treat existence like a science experiment, like a neat chain of cause and effect that you can manipulate perfectly.
Right.
If you try to impose your rigid logic onto the flow of life,
You'll fail.
inevitably. Because life is bigger, wilder, more complex than any logical system we can devise. The natural world itself gives us the best examples of this.
Ah, the analogy of the tree and the grass. I found this really striking.
It's a classic Taoist image, isn't it? You have the giant, ancient tree. Strong, solid, seemingly powerful. It follows the logic of, say, Charles Darwin's survival of the fittest through strength.
It resists. When the storm comes, it stands tall, fights back, uses its sheer size and rigidity.
Exactly. It represents the ego trying to assert its dominance.
Oh.
But the storm. The storm comes from the whole, from totality. The tree is just a part, and when the wind howls, when the pressure becomes immense.
The tree breaks. It falls. Its strength becomes its weakness.
Precisely. Now contrast that with the small, humble grass. Ordinary grass. It follows a different way, the way of Tao Lao Tzu, the way of yielding, of surrender.
When the storm hits, the grass just bends, lets go completely. Touches the earth.
It doesn't resist at all. It offers no fight. And so it can't be broken. The storm just gives it a good cleaning, maybe. And when the storm passes,
The grass springs right back up, dancing, unharmed.
it's undefeated because it never fought. Its flexibility was its strength.
The implications for us, for how we live, how we lead, they're huge.
Absolutely. If you try to dominate, to show your strength like a Napoleon, a Hitler, an Alexander the Great, you're acting like that tree. You're setting yourself up against the totality of existence.
And you'll eventually be broken by it.
Because you're resisting the natural flow. The person who yields, who is flexible, non-resistant like the grass, they are, in a sense, invincible. They move with the current, not against it.
And this idea of yielding strength, it's not just theoretical. There's that incredible story about Alexander the Great and the naked philosopher Dendamus.
Yes. Alexander, conqueror of the known world, marching through India. He hears about these strange mystics, these fakirs, and decides he wants one. Like a souvenir almost.
A trophy for his court back home, so he sends his soldiers.
And they find this man, Dandamis, sitting naked by a river, owning nothing. They deliver the royal invitation. Come with Alexander, you'll have wealth, comfort, honor.
And Dandamis just laughs.
Laughs it off completely.
Right.
Sends back this message that's just pure defiance, pure freedom. Something like, a man who calls himself great cannot be great. I am no one's slave. I move like a cloud.
The soldiers must have been furious. They warn him, right? Alexander will kill you. Cut your head off.
Standard procedure for defying Alexander. So Alexander himself, insulted and enraged, goes down to the river, sword drawn, ready to make an example.
And Dandamis
Doesn't flinch, looks up at the most powerful man in the world and says something utterly disarming. Put down your sword. It's useless here.
Useless? How?
You can only cut my body, Dandamis explains. And that body, I left it long ago. I'm just a witness to it. I'm ready to watch it fall in the sand.
Wow. And Alexander, what does he do?
He stops. He realizes the truth in that moment. As the story goes, he thinks it's difficult, maybe impossible, to kill a man who is ready to die.
This beggar defeated the conqueror without lifting a finger.
Exactly. Not with power, but with fearlessness. It proves the point.
Mm.
It's fear, especially the fear of death, that makes us slaves. It's what allows others to control us.
The moment you lose that fear, you're free.
No one has leverage.
You're sovereign. And this kind of courage, this inner strength, it's linked directly to the heart.
Literally.
Literally. The word courage, its root is the Latin cor, meaning heart. So to be courageous, truly courageous, means to live from the heart, to live centered in your feeling, your intuition, your spontaneity.
Which contrasts sharply with how many people operate, especially those clinging to certainty.
Yes, the sources call them the weaklings in this context. Not physically weak necessarily, but spiritually. They live from the head. And the head is where they build their fortress.
Their security system. Walls of logic, closed windows of theology, concepts, theories, ways to feel safe and hide from the raw reality of existence.
The head is described as the businessman.
Right. Calculating, cunning, always looking at the bottom line, managing risk. It's entirely filled with the past, accumulated knowledge, memory, precedent. The head never takes a real risk. It just optimizes based on what's already known.
Where is the heart?
The heart is the gambler. It's non-calculating. It doesn't operate on profit and loss in the same way. It's open to the future, always hoping, always ready to leap into the unknown moment.
So the head replays the past, the heart leaks into the future.
That's a great way to put it. The head chews on old data. The heart dreams of new possibilities. And making that shift from a life run by the calculating head to one guided by the vulnerable, risk-taking heart, that is the journey of courage.
Okay, shifting from head to heart brings us to intelligence. But not intellect, right? There's a distinction made.
A crucial one, especially today when we value intellect so highly. Intellect, in this view, is like dull intelligence. It's like a corpse that's been beautifully decorated with knowledge, facts, information.
It looks impressive, but it's not alive.
Exactly. It's static. It relies entirely on recycling what's already known. Rearranging the furniture in the room, maybe, but never building a new room.
So what is intelligence, then?
Intelligence is presented as aliveness itself. It's spontaneity, openness, vulnerability. And maybe the key characteristic is this. Intelligence is the courage to function without conclusions.
Without conclusions. That sounds inefficient. Maybe even dangerous for practical life.
It sounds terrifying to the logical mind, doesn't it? Because the mind wants closure, answers, efficiency. But thinking, the process of the intellect, can only ever work on what's already known. It chews the already chewed, as one source puts it.
It can combine old ideas in new ways, maybe?
Sure, like imagining a flying horse made of gold. It's rearranging known concepts, flying, horse, gold. But it can't truly grasp the fundamentally new. The unknown remains outside its reach. It's always derivative.
So if thinking can't get us to truth, or to the really new, how do we find it?
By experiencing it.
Yeah.
Truth, reality, it's not presented as a belief system you adopt or a conclusion you reach through logic. It's an experience you live.
This is where the map versus the mountain analogy comes in.
Yes, and it's so helpful. The maps, whether it's the Quran, the Bible, the Gita, even scientific theories, they're not the mountain. They're records of other people's journeys, other people's experiences of the mountain.
And if you stare too hard at the map,
you miss the actual mountain right in front of you. Your eyes become so full of the map, so convinced you know the territory based on the description that you become prejudiced. You literally can't see the fresh, virgin peaks of reality as they are. The belief blinds you.
So being truly religious or spiritual in the sense isn't about belief.
Not primarily. It's about a different approach altogether. Non-thinking, non-dogmatic. An immediate, direct engagement with reality. More like how you experience love. It's a feeling, a connection, not just a concept you learned.
And the sources remind us we weren't born with this intellectual mind.
Right. We were born as no mind. The mind, the intellect, the ego structure. It's a social product. We learned it. It was cultivated in us.
Which means?
It can be dropped. Or at least we can learn not to be solely identified with it. We can reclaim that original openness.
Okay, but how? If not through thinking, how do we move towards this experiential truth?
By being willing to make mistakes. Utterly, completely willing to commit errors.
That goes against everything we're taught. Avoid mistakes at all costs. Mistakes are failures.
Exactly. That's the logic of the head, the calculating businessman. Mistakes are costly, inefficient, embarrassing.
Yeah.
But from the perspective of growth, of learning,
Mistakes are essential.
they are the only way. You can't truly learn what's wrong or how not to fall into a particular ditch just by being told. You have to fall in yourself maybe a few times. It's personalized, embodied learning. It requires real stamina, real courage to keep getting up.
So it's not about avoiding mistakes, but learning from them.
Yes, there's a fantastic mantra offered. Commit as many mistakes as possible, remembering only one thing. Don't commit the same mistake again.
That's how you build real clarity, real strength.
By testing reality directly, analyzing your falls, and getting up wiser. Not by staying safely on the sidelines, the person who boasts of never making a mistake.
Yeah.
Perhaps they simply never took a risk, never truly lived or explored.
And this readiness to make mistakes, it connects to the idea of innocence.
Yes, but innocence here isn't naivety or ignorance. It's defined as a combination of courage and clarity.
Courage and clarity, how does that work?
Innocence in this sense means having no past, only future, or rather, not being bound by the past.
The past corrupts.
It weighs you down. It fills you with memories, expectations, judgments, cleverness,
Yeah.
all the things that make you cautious, cunning, but ultimately not truly clear, not open to the present moment as it is.
So the person of understanding, the truly intelligent person,
Is constantly dying to the past. Every moment is a small death to what was, and a rebirth into the potential of what is now, what is next. They don't cling.
clinging to the known, your past self, your accomplishments, your identity, it's like clinging to a corpse.
Philosophically speaking, yes, because the you of yesterday is gone. Life has moved on. So the real goal isn't just brute courage, but clarity. The clarity to see the past as past and to move unburdened into the ever-arriving unknown future.
Okay, we've really hammered this home. Life is dynamic. It changes constantly, which makes any fixed map, any rigid ideology pretty much useless in the long run.
Right. By the time you've drawn the map, maybe even printed it and bound it nicely, life has already jumped the tracks. It's playing a completely different game somewhere else.
So the takeaway is, you can't actually prepare for life. Not in the way we usually think of preparation.
You can prepare skills, gather resources, sure, but you can't prepare a fixed response for life's surprises. It will always catch you off guard somehow. It always comes as a surprise.
And the mature mind, then, is the one that accepts this.
Accepts it, and maybe even embraces it. Looks at life without constantly demanding answers or guarantees, and just dives in with courage, with spontaneity.
That Zen story about the temple boys really nails the absurdity of trying to have ready-made answers.
Oh, it's perfect, isn't it? First boy wants to be clever, philosophical. He asks the second boy, where you going?
And the second boy gives this amazing, almost mystical answer. Wherever the wind takes me.
Totally floors the first boy. Makes him feel small and spiritual. So he goes away, thinks all night, consults his master, prepares this sharp, logical comeback.
Something about, what if the wind wants to go where you have no legs? Trying to trap him in logic.
He's all ready. He thinks he's got the perfect response for the expected spiritual answer.
But then the next morning, he asks again, where are you going?
And the second boy, completely fresh, completely in the moment, just says, I'm going to the market to get vegetables.
It just pulls the rug out completely.
Devastatingly simple. You can't apply yesterday's philosophical framework to today's reality of buying carrots. If you try, you just look ridiculous. Life demands presence, not prepackaged answers.
But to live that spontaneously, that present, we have to deal with the ego, right? The false self.
Absolutely. Because that's the part of us that craves the map, the certainty. The ego is this identity we build, but it's built on sand. It's derived from external things.
Our job title, our possessions, how famous we are, what people think of us.
All of it. And if you strip those external props away, the ego panics. because suddenly it doesn't know who it is. It has no solid ground based on achievements or validation.
And this false self needs the crowd. It needs others to reflect it back.
It thrives on validation from the crowd. That's why loneliness can be so terrifying for many people in modern society. When you're truly alone, the external mirrors disappear. The false identity starts to wobble, to dissolve.
Which is what the mystics called the dark night of the soul, that falling apart of the constructed self.
That can be part of it, yes. The crowd provides the consensus reality that props up the personality, the mask.
In society itself being based on numbers, on consensus, it's naturally wary of the individual.
Deeply wary. The individual is unpredictable, unique, doesn't necessarily follow the herd. So the sources argue the greatest courage isn't facing external enemies, it's daring to be an individual.
To stand on your own experience.
To say, my direct lived experience is valid, this is true for me, even if the entire world, all the authorities, the whole crowd says, no, you're wrong, this is the way. That takes immense courage.
And finding that courage means tuning into something other than the crowd's opinion, an inner sense.
Yes. We usually focus on the 5 outer senses: sight, hearing, touch, taste, smell. They tell us about the external world. But there's a 6th sense mentioned, an inner sense.
What does that do?
It tells you about yourself, your own being, your connection perhaps to the source, to existence itself. But we've lost trust in it.
Why?
Constant conditioning, education, parents, society, media, they all emphasize the external, the objective, the consensus. They teach us to doubt our inner feelings, our intuition, if it doesn't match the official version.
There's that famous story illustrating this conflict, Vivekananda and Ramakrishna.
Perfect example, Vivekananda. Brilliant, logical, educated in Western philosophy, a total skeptic. He goes to Ramakrishna, determined to argue, to prove rationally that God doesn't exist.
And Ramakrishna is this seemingly simple, even illiterate mystic.
Right. He listens patiently to all Vivekananda's sophisticated arguments, and then he just cuts through it all. He basically says, your logic is fine, but it's useless here. My inner sense, my direct feeling tells me God is, and for me that's the final authority. Not a book, not an argument, but an inner knowing.
And then he does something completely non-logical.
He bypasses the intellect entirely. He literally jumps up, puts his foot on Vivekananda's chest.
Inducing some kind of mystical experience, a trance.
Exactly. For hours, Vivekananda is gone. When he comes back, the logical arguments are just irrelevant dust. He's filled with this overwhelming feeling.
Such jubilation inside, such well-being, such overflowing certainty, as the story goes.
You can only say, yes, God is. Not as a belief, but as an experienced reality. The existential feeling trumped the intellectual argument.
So the message is, the greatest fear holding us back is the fear of other people's opinions.
That's what the sources claim. Fear of the crowd. And when you finally become unafraid of the crowd, when you stand firm in your own inner sense, your own truth,
you become a lion.
You find your roar, the lion's roar of authentic individual freedom.
Okay, so achieving that inner freedom, that lion's roar, seems intrinsically linked to getting rid of fear. But we need to be really clear on what fear is in this context. It's not just being scared of spiders, right?
No, it's deeper. Many think the opposite of love is hate. But the sources argue hate is just love gone wrong, love inverted. Still a connection, just a negative one.
So what's the real opposite of love?
Fear. Think about their dynamics. In fear, what do? You shrink, you close down, you doubt, you isolate yourself, you build walls.
And in love?
You expand.
Yeah.
You open up, you trust, you connect. You might even feel like you merge, lose your boundaries for a moment. Fear is fundamentally described as a state of no contact with existence, a feeling of being separate, alien, vulnerable.
Okay, if fear is like darkness, an absence,
then you can't fight it directly.
Yeah.
You can't attack darkness with a sword. You'll just swing at empty air. You need to bring in the light.
And the light in this analogy is love.
Precisely. Fear is the absence of love. So the only real lasting solution to fear is to cultivate love, to bring more love into your being, into your life.
And the more you love,
the less space there is for fear. It's presented as almost a spiritual law. Love dissolves fear, just as light dissolves darkness. It's the only way.
This also changes how we might think about bravery, conventional bravery.
Yeah, often what we call bravery is just, as one source puts it, fear well-protected, well-defended, armored. You're acting despite the fear, maybe gritting your teeth, but the fear is still there, underneath the armor.
True fearlessness, then, is different.
It's the absence of fear altogether, which means it's also the absence of needing to be brave and the absence of being a coward. A truly fearless person isn't trying to prove anything. They just are. They don't create fear in others, and they don't allow fear to take root in themselves.
And the way to cultivate this state, to bring in the light of love, involves several layers. The sources mentioned 4.
Yes, 4 layers or dimensions of love that work progressively to dispel fear, starting from the most basic physical level.
Okay, let's walk through them first. Sex. That might surprise some people.
It's the foundation, the body level, a deep, fulfilling sexual orgasm where the body completely lets go, relaxes, feels whole. It can temporarily dispel body-based fear and tension.
It creates a feeling of at-homeness.
For that moment, yes.
Yeah.
The physical anxieties, the tightness we carry, it dissolves. It's a glimpse, a natural grounding, showing the body its own potential for profound relaxation and connection. It counters that basic existential fear lodged in the body.
Okay, layer 2. Love, but specifically unconditional love. This seems to target the mind's fears.
Yes, and this is where many of us stumble. We tend to treat love like a commodity, a transaction. I'll love you if...
If you meet my conditions, if you behave a certain way.
Exactly. Bargaining. But unconditional love means loving without those strings attached. Loving just for the joy of loving. And crucially, this benefits the lover first and foremost.
Ow.
When you love conditionally, you're constantly monitoring, judging, expecting. Your own heart contracts. You live in fear. Fear the conditions won't be met. Fear of loss. But when you love unconditionally, just pouring out that feeling, your own heart expands. Vulnerability becomes strength. Fear of judgment, fear of loss. It starts to diminish because the love isn't dependent on getting something back.
Okay, layer 3. Prayer. But not necessarily religious prayer in the conventional sense.
Right. The sources are quite critical of organized, formalized prayer. They argue it often kills the spontaneity, turns it into a dead ritual, just reciting words without feeling.
So what is true prayer in this context?
It's a living dialogue, a spontaneous heart-to-heart conversation with whatever you conceive of as the ultimate reality, the universe, God, existence itself.
And it has to be authentic, even if that means being angry sometimes.
Absolutely. It has to be real. Sometimes you might feel immense gratitude, other times frustration or anger. But it's alive. It's honest. Not just repeating phrases someone else wrote centuries ago.
That story about Tolstoy and the 3 foolish saints really captures this.
It's brilliant. These 3 simple, devout men living on an island. A high priest visits and is appalled they don't know the proper, long, complicated church prayers.
So she tries to teach them.
And they try so hard to memorize it. But they keep forgetting, feeling guilty, inadequate. Their own prayer, the one they made up, was incredibly simple.
You are 3, we are 3, have mercy upon us, something like that.
Yes. And when they forget the priest's complicated prayer after he leaves, they get so distressed they literally run across the water to catch his boat and ask him to teach them again.
Running on water.
Their simple, childlike, utterly trusting, spontaneous prayer, their foolishness, gave them this incredible connection, this power. While the priest's correct theology was just words, it shows the power of authentic, heartfelt connection over rote learning.
So talk to the universe like a trusted friend. Be real.
That seems to be the essence. And the 4th, the ultimate stage, meditation.
How is this different from prayer?
Prayer is still a dialogue, a relationship, me talking to the other. Meditation is moving beyond dialogue into oneness. You're not talking to the universe anymore. You are the universe. The listener becomes the listening. The seer becomes the seeing.
And at this stage?
Fearlessness itself disappears because fear requires separation, a me that can be threatened by another. When that division dissolves into oneness, there's nothing left to fear. There's just being. A state described as vast, purity, virginity, innocence.
So ultimately, love isn't really a relationship between 2 people.
Not in its deepest sense. That's maybe a reflection of it. But fundamentally, love is presented as a state of being. You don't fall in love. You are love. You radiate it.
And this state, this rare flowering...
It can only happen when fear is truly absent. When you're open, vulnerable, trusting enough for your deepest center to connect with existence or with the center of another.
So if security leads to stagnation, a kind of living death, the logical conclusion seems to be that life, real life, is found in danger, insecurity.
It sounds paradoxical again, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But yes, living, true aliveness, flowers only in danger. If you constantly choose comfort, predictability, safety, you become like a stagnant pool. You lose your edge, your vitality, your clarity.
Is that why people are drawn to extreme sports? Mountain climbing, surfing huge waves, deep-sea diving?
It's partly that, I think. They're not just adrenaline junkies necessarily. They're seeking that state of being tremendously alive, When you're on that cliff edge or riding that wave, the past and future
And
vanish,
shift to totally present.
utterly in the here and now. The danger sharpens your senses, forces you into the present moment like nothing else. The mind chatter stops. There's just the action, the awareness. It's a taste of that intense presence.
And that presence, that ability to be fully in the moment, that's the goal.
That seems to be the peak experience described. To consume the moment completely, without reservation, like that story of the dying master.
Ah, yes. His disciples gather around, desperate for his final words of wisdom.
His ultimate teaching. And just before he passes, he opens his eyes, smiles. Ah, this cake is delicious.
Just enjoying the cake.
Exactly. It's profound. Here's a man so totally present, so accepting of this moment, that even impending death is irrelevant compared to the taste of the cake right now. Nothing is postponed. Everything is experienced fully now.
But getting to that point,
Yeah.
it requires a huge shift, a transformation. And that often involves facing the death of the ego.
Yes, the ego, being this artificial construct built from external validation and past experiences, is terrified of dying. It knows it's not permanent, that it can fall apart.
And it particularly fears the new, anything truly original or unknown.
Because the new, by definition, doesn't fit the ego's old patterns. It's discontinuous. Its arrival threatens the ego's very structure. So the ego resists change, resists the unknown with all its might.
So transformation requires letting that structure go.
It requires being willing to let the ego die. To die in the ego is to be born into being, as one source states. We can't force the new, the truly transformative experience through sheer willpower or intellect.
It comes from beyond us, like a gift.
Like a message from the universe, from God, however you frame it. Our role isn't to create it, but to be open enough, receptive enough to receive it, joyously, even if it feels inconvenient or risky to the old self.
To act spontaneously, like a child, without constantly checking the rule book of the past.
Exactly. But the challenge is, most of us are completely unaware of what we even have. We take our current reality, our health, our relative comfort, our very existence for granted.
We only notice it when we're about to lose it.
Often, yes. Which is the point of that wonderful Mullah Nasruddin story, the rich man seeking peace of mind.
Right. He's wealthy but totally stressed out. He goes to the mullah for help.
And Nasruddin says, okay, give me that big bag of diamonds you're carrying, collateral for the secret.
And the moment the rich man hands it over,
The mullah runs off with it, vanishes.
the rich man must have been frantic, terror, desperation, his whole world collapsing.
Utter agony for days, searching, despairing. Then suddenly, the mullah reappears, calm as anything, and just hands the bag of diamonds back. He'd just hidden it.
And the rich man's reaction?
Pure relief. Intense joy. Mullah, he cries, I found it. Peace of mind, just getting my diamonds back. It's incredible peace.
But he didn't actually gain anything new.
Not a thing. He just got back what he already possessed. But the experience of potentially losing it, the shock of that fear, made him intensely aware of its value, of the simple peace of just having it, which he'd never appreciated before.
We need that shock sometimes to wake us up to the value of our ordinary lives.
It seems so. We need the opportunity to lose the known, to truly appreciate the gift of existence itself.
Which leads us to the final call to action then. It sounds uncompromising.
It really is. Drop the borrowed beliefs. Reject the patterns imposed from outside. Trust your own being. Accept yourself, your unique experience, even if it goes against every authority figure, Buddha, Jesus, your parents, your society.
Because ultimately, what are you risking?
You risk only the false, the ego, the borrowed identity. And you stand to gain the truth, your authentic self. So in reality, you risk nothing and gain everything.
So the final advice for living this courageous life isn't about careful planning.
Quite the opposite. It's provocative. Jump first and then think as much as you want. Don't let analysis paralysis stop you from experiencing life.
Never miss the chance for the unknown. Always choose the risky, the dangerous, the insecure.
And you will not be at a loss. Because that's where life is. That's where growth happens. Embrace insecurity as freedom, uncertainty as wonder.
And you realize you were never really losing anything truly valuable, just shedding chains you didn't even know you were wearing.
That's the promise anyway. A radical reorientation towards life itself.
Wow. Well, that was certainly a deep dive. A radical one, as promised. We've journeyed from the problems of certainty through the wisdom of yielding, the nature of true intelligence, the power of love over fear, and landed on this joy of living dangerously, embracing the unknown, shifting from head to heart. Lots to think about there. If you enjoyed the podcast, make sure to like the video, subscribe the channel, and leave a comment as a feedback.